Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is our first ever virtual conversation through the President's Society, what is now the Steamboat Society, with the University of Wyoming. So thank you for dialing in. And I tell you, we're operating in such a different world this day, but we're wanting tonight to introduce you to Ed Seidel and Gabrielle Allen. I tell you, there's so many exciting things happening at the University of Wyoming. And we want to be cautious and always sending out just messages of everything the university is addressing with COVID-19, state budget cuts, information that you hear, you read about, but there's so many good things happening at the university right now. The Steamboat Society, about 3,200 members. And one of the things that we're looking at as we go forward as a university and as a foundation, and I applaud Jack Tennant, who's on with me tonight, and John Stark and others who are leading our way here with the foundation. We are adjusting. We're understanding that hybrid models, Ed Seidel is eager to get out and travel to meet with many of you, along with Gabrielle. But at the same time, we know that that's really limited for us. So we're going to be doing more of these virtual type conversations in the days ahead. And we're going to keep in touch with you in a very strong manner. So I'm going to introduce to you tonight Dr. Ed Seidel, the 28th president of the University of Wyoming, and a distinguished scholar, an individual who has traveled the globe, has worked at so many different universities, but comes to us now from the University of Illinois system as the senior VP for Economic Development Innovation. And his partner, Gabrielle Allen, who comes to us with Ed, and I mean, it is truly a partnership on every level. Academically, it's a partnership. In life, it's a partnership. Gabrielle has a remarkable career as a professor of astronomy, and she also is Associate Dean for Research at the University of Illinois in the College of Education. So as we bring both Ed and Gabrielle on this evening, we're going to have a conversation with them because the conversation is going to be one of vision planning and where we're going as a university. So Ed, I know that you're out there, and Gabrielle, I know that you're out there. So why don't you guys join me on the screen? And Ed is positioned downstairs at the University of Wyoming, Marion H. Rochelle Gateway. He's in the president's room. Gabrielle is next door to me, and we're all socially distancing here. And Gabrielle is next door to me in what we call the John Nestor Clay conference room. So Ed, first off, and to Gabrielle, welcome. It's great to have you guys here with the University of Wyoming.
Thank you. Couldn't be more excited to be here.
Exactly.
I'm going to lead the conversation here. And I tell you, Ed, from the moment you and I met, I was the guy that pulled up to the curb at the Denver airport and picked you up and brought you up to the university. And Gabrielle, you were not there at that moment. We had this very, very engaging conversation. But I was really struck with immediately you began to lead into the 21st century land grant university. You talked about best in class, but you then talked about rooted in the traditions of Wyoming. So I'm going to begin by asking you to further explain what you mean when you talk about best in class and land grant university in the traditions of our state.
Well, thanks, Ben, and thanks to everybody for joining us tonight. As I said, I'm honored to be here. I was very pleased to be selected. And among other reasons, one of the very important things is that this university has not only been an incredible institution to advance the state, but the foundation has done an incredible job, and with your generosity has built an endowment that gives it an edge in helping to recruit and build the university and recruit new scholarship and students and so on. So we're very excited by this. And one of the first things I thought about the idea of leading this university is to take it to the next level, what we were calling the best in class 21st century university, a land grant university that's true to the Wyoming roots. And there's a lot that's packed into that. So I'd like to just take a minute to explain bit by bit what that means to me. And I think what it means, I hope, to all of us. So first of all, the land grant mission is one that's very, very important in the development of the United States. Over the years, the land grant is the institution that has built the economy, that has educated our citizenry, and it's very, very important to the future of the state as well. So thinking about the 21st century version of this, things are changing these days so dramatically. We have computation, we have data, we have entrepreneurship, we have civic engagement, the importance of training people in the 21st century, which is different from what it was even a couple of decades ago. So that's very important to me as well. And also the idea that is a university that is best in class. And I think that's one that, for example, think of the Mountain West Conference. And I think you'll be seeing some interesting news about the Mountain West going forward. A little premature to get into that too much right now, but I'll just say that there's a lot of momentum around the idea that maybe we can get our athletics program back on track. But among the Mountain West, we have not only a special character that is true to the roots of Wyoming, but one that is backed by very generous state and a very generous set of alumni and donors that have helped make this university what it is today. So with all of that in mind, I think a lot about how we can build this and sharpen the value proposition that we have to the state to make sure that we help train the next generation of students, to give them the opportunities that they would get nowhere else, and to make sure that then we focus that on developing the future of the economy of the state. And Gabrielle's been a great partner of mine over the years. And maybe you could talk a little bit about what she's been doing, particularly around education in the 21st century.
Sure, thanks, Ed, and hi, everybody. I'm also just thrilled to be here. I grew up in the East End of London in the United Kingdom, so never dreamed I would be able to live and work somewhere as beautiful and as cultural as this. So let's get back to Ed's question. So I'm actually an astrophysicist, but I've been working for the last 4 years as the Associate Dean in the College of Education at the University of Illinois. And really around how to bring technology together with education, because it is so important for educating our students and our workforce. And so I've been working on projects like we recently were successful. Our College of Education was part of 2 of the 7 centers that was recently announced for artificial intelligence for the National Science Foundation. And you know, we're vital parts of these projects that are the future of computer science here. We just had a cluster hire in our college of 5 new faculty around educational technology who are working on how do you build devices, how do you design tools, how do you build classrooms for the 21st century, and then fundamentally working on a lot of research and programs around workforce development for the new economy, and how do we create the pathways that are needed to bring students through the schools, community colleges, universities into the workforce. So all of that resonates with me.
Well, Gabrielle and Ed, I know an area that there's great concern is we look at the economy of our state. And you've always made references from the moment you and I shook hands and began to engage in conversation about what you view as being the 4 pillars for the state and how you're looking to align the university in that regard. So let me turn, Ed, to you and also to Gabrielle in terms of what you're seeing in UW's future and its alignment with the state of Wyoming.
Thanks, Ben. So I am very excited about the idea that we may be able to have a major impact on the future of the state, not only in terms of education and workforce development for the 21st century, but also in terms of economic development. So in thinking these different priorities that we have through, I've come up with, working with our teams here, including with Ben and Toby and others, the idea that we have 4 pillars around, first of all, the university becoming more digital. And I'll come back to these in a minute, but in order, not in any numerical order, but they're all co-equal. More digital, more entrepreneurial, more interdisciplinary, and more inclusive. So those aren't mere slogans. We have very deep thinking about what it means in terms of developing programs and how to recruit faculty and how to build programs for students. And I think all of these are things that are going to really advantage our students. So let me just go through them one by one. So more digital means at least 2 things. One is to become more online, more able to take our curriculum and deliver it through online technologies through to the rural areas of the state, and not only directly to them, but also in partnership with community colleges and with the schools. So we're beginning already to think through how we would do that so we can deliver more educational value across all areas of the state. And being a very rural state, I think that's a very important aspect. Second thing, and just as important, is to develop the ability to educate our students and to do research in all areas of computation and technology, and also in the creative arts as well, more digital, but digital arts as well. So areas around computational science, artificial intelligence, and their applications, that's really important. In my role as the Vice President for Economic Development in the last 4 years, I met with a lot of corporations around the state of Illinois and from around the world. And no matter what market sector they were in, if it was insurance or agriculture or banking or you name it, they always would ask, how can you help us advance our market, our position in our market around artificial intelligence or around using the technologies that are available to us? And we need to understand better how to do that. So we'll need to build capacity in this area. The second area is around entrepreneurial. And again, I have this in two different meetings at least. One is we want our faculty and our students to be able to think about entrepreneurship in the traditional sense around having the skills, the tools, the support in order to build new businesses. And so to train people and then to encourage them and provide the capacity for them to actually follow those ideas and then build new companies out of them. It also means having particularly faculty who are very entrepreneurial in terms of bringing in new sources of revenue to the university, either through research programs with institutions like the National Science Foundation or Department of Energy or National Institutes of Health, or working with donors or working with corporations for corporate partnerships. That'll be a very important part of what we do. So the third area is more interdisciplinary, and that means trying to harness the many areas of expertise that a university has, whether it's in the creative arts and social sciences, or if it's in technology, or if it's in the legal area, the law school, the business school, and so on. How do you bring all of those technologies and those kinds of expertise together to address the problems of Wyoming? So we're going to work very hard to pose problems that we know, working with communities that are important to the state, and then make sure that we have the right mechanisms and the right people in place so we can collaborate in order to build the future of the state. It's also very, very important for the students to learn, if they're an English major thinking about what was Shakespeare talking about centuries ago and about the human condition, but to give these students then the skills to think about how to apply that in collaborations or around entrepreneurship, or to think about solving problems. So this interdisciplinary teamwork approach in collaboration with companies. This is a lot of what I'm talking about when I talk about more interdisciplinary. And then the fourth area, and we'll get into this, I think, a little bit more in a few minutes, to talk about more inclusive. How do we build an environment here that is welcoming to people from all walks of life, from all corners of the state, in fact, from all around the world? How do we make sure that people from different ethnic groups, different income brackets, they're all able to come to this university and then to succeed when they go back to the communities that they've come from, or to other parts of the state or around the world, hopefully ultimately to come back to the state, and then to think about the skills they need in order to succeed, but to help them participate in the future of the economy. So the future of the economy has got to be very broad-based with people from all walks of life. And so Gabrielle might have something to add about this in particular. I know, Gab, you've spent a lot of time building interdisciplinary collaboration, so maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's exciting to come somewhere and find out what are the problems, the grand challenges, and the complex problems that are important and motivate people in the state or in the area. And I've led some development of teams at University of Illinois, also at Louisiana State University, and really, I mean, these are the best projects to work on, particularly when you have people from all these different disciplines getting to know each other, figuring out what the problem is, and then ultimately working together to solve it. And as Ed mentioned, this is a fantastic environment for the students to work in, and to see the students understanding the problem that they're working on, that it's an important problem, and coming as they mature, understanding that they can really contribute to this. And so it's looking forward to that aspect of Wyoming.
So Ed and Gabrielle, along these lines, we have an economy that's energy based. an economy that is agriculturally based, an economy that is very dependent upon tourism and recreation. Help me understand how what seems to be just almost a new concept for the university as you begin to roll out these ideas that we embrace, we get excited about. How do these elements tie into the economy of the state of Wyoming?
Well, I think there are multiple ways that they do. So first of all, the idea, I think about the economy of the state of Wyoming in two different parts. So the first one I would say is the existing economy, which is driven largely by several markets. Among them would be tourism and hospitality. Another one would be agriculture, of course, very, very big. And in fact, was very big in the state of Illinois as well. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about agriculture. There are differences, but there are a lot of similarities. Another one is, of course, extraction and energy. So these areas are very important, but they're not sort of single disciplines. They really require people to understand all aspects of things, from the business side to the technology side, and they're all being revolutionized by the technology. So thinking about the existing economies, how to modernize them, and how the university can bring all its resources to train people, bring them together to advance those areas. And then thinking about laying the foundations for the new economy, which will be largely around areas of technology, computing, artificial intelligence, and so on. And there are many studies that are showing that students who have backgrounds in many of these areas are going to be advantaged if they have understanding of these new technologies, as well as the markets are going to be changing. So making sure the university is really fine-tuned to contribute and help advance that economy, as well as making sure that our students are really well prepared for that. That's how this all fits together.
So turning to another topic, you early on, you talked with me about what you referred to as the UW Presidential Excellence Initiative, and began to talk about 10 years. And of course, I love that talk about 10 years, because it's the type of track record that, as you well know, we haven't really in recent times had that type of track record in your office. But here you are looking at a 10-year pathway, and you're looking at this commitment toward excellence. So that being said, and I'll also draw back in best in class. So as you see the next 10 years, as you see a presidential excellence initiative, a commitment to a visionary agenda for the university, where do you see this university in 5 years, in 10 years?
Well, that's a great question, because I love thinking about how to build something that starts now, but takes some time to build, so you really have big impact over time. And I think about how to take advantage of the things that are already in place here right now. So for example, the university and the foundation and the people out there who've been supporting the university have done a fantastic job in bringing in the funds needed, for example, to build fantastic facilities around, for example, the new engineering building, the new science initiative building, other buildings across campus. It's a beautiful environment to walk around and to think about, dreaming about the future. At the same time, I think it gives us a great opportunity to recruit some of the best people that would be very excited to have a building opportunity to come here and then to live in such a wonderful environment as Wyoming. So I would like very much to put in place a presidential excellence initiative that's focused on taking advantage of what's in place, but then thinking about how to recruit the best people that we need, and that would be in not only the existing areas that I talked about, but in these new areas. For example, building up particularly computing expertise on which we can build the future of the economy. So the tools and the techniques around this would be things like endowed chairs, and I know that there are a number of endowed chairs. I think we can put them in the future into more targeted use for really attracting excellence, the best people from across the state and across the world that we can bring here and give them an opportunity to work here. You bring in one fantastic faculty member. I'll mention Mohammed Piri, for example. Mohammed has built an incredible enterprise, in fact, an entire center, an entire building with a lot of economic impact. So let's bring in 10, 20, 30 people like that and have them build their own enterprises. And then to think about the scale, not only here at the university, but in partnership with communities and the community colleges across the state. to help build hubs of innovation around every one of the community colleges. So it's really broad-based. The entire state participates in this. So the University of Wyoming can play a major role in helping catalyze the development of these hubs. And with the funding that we'll bring in through state and philanthropic and corporate partnerships will help fuel the fire for building all of those activities there. I'd also talk just a bit about the programs. I mentioned hubs of innovation. These will be built around entrepreneurship training. We've already begun to have some partnership discussions with some of the community colleges. We'd like to expand this to all the community colleges so we can train our students in entrepreneurship, create environments around these hubs in every community college region where new businesses can be formed, increase the flow of venture capital that helps support them, and then think about how to also attract companies to come and join us in these endeavors. So there are lots and lots of things that we have in mind, and this is something that we can start now. We've already got some plans beginning, and I hope in the next few years we'll be able to see the beginnings of that, and then on a 10-year time scale, we really change the face of the state.
So Gabrielle, you and I are going to step off for a few minutes here. We're going to bring in some other questions, but let me get you to, before we do step off, let me get you to add on to that in terms of the university that you're partnering with Ed and how you see things out there in 5 years or 10 years from now.
I think that the sky's the limit, really. I think that having a plan, working towards understanding what it is we're working towards. I think mentioned the kind of endowed chairs that are critical. I think that part of what I'm excited to do is how we can recruit faculty here, bring people here, show them what a great place Wyoming is, show them the strength of the university, and get them excited about what they could do as part of the university. So I've held endowed chairs. I have endowed funds at the moment that I use at the College of Education. They're the things that make the difference. I was able to, 3 weeks after we went online, I had a competition for faculty in my college for seed funding for projects around education in the new, in light of the, what's happening in the country. And these are the funds that I think will allow us to bring people here and allow them to excel.
Well, Gabrielle, thank you. And I'm going to let you step off the screen for just a few minutes. Ed, you and I will stay on together. And we ask all of you who've been participants tonight to submit questions. The numbers of questions we had, we keep all of us on the screen for a dozen hours. We're not going to do that to you tonight. At the same time, we want to continue to answer questions for you in other settings as we go forward. But I'm going to bring on the screen with us right now, Ed, Jack Tennant. And Jack played football with the University of Wyoming and graduated from UW in 2010. He's a very important part of the UW Foundation, being the director of annual giving. Not only did he play football, but he also wrestled with the Cowboys. So, Jack, I know you have engaged some of our key supporters who are actually live with us tonight and have some questions. So, Jack, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Well, thank you, Ben, and thank you, President Seidel and Dr. Allen, for coming in tonight. And as Ben mentioned, I'm Jack Tennant. I'm the director of annual giving at the University of Wyoming Foundation. Annual giving is what oversees the Steamboat Society, which we are so excited that all of you are a part of. And I'm excited to announce tonight that we have over 120 Steamboat Society members with us, and honored to introduce 3 of them that are actually here virtually. So I'll go ahead and bring on the first one, Dr. Dolores Cardona. Dolores is actually coming in from Laramie, Wyoming with us tonight. Dolores is the former Associate Dean of Students at the University of Wyoming. She worked with Multicultural Affairs, the Veterans Center, Non-Traditional Students, and the Women's Center. Dolores.
Yes, President Seidel, one of the key themes of your plan is being more inclusive, inclusion. What is your vision for diversity at UW, and how will you work with others to kind of create a supportive environment for a diverse student body?
Well, thanks, Dolores. That is a great question, and I have a lot of thoughts about that. And I'll just say, first of all, the idea of inclusion and diversity is central to the future of this university. In fact, to this country. The country is becoming more and more diverse. The state itself is becoming more and more diverse. So we have to create an environment where students, faculty, staff feel welcome, and they represent the different groups that we have in the state, and whether it's different ethnic groups, Native Americans, African Americans, Hispanics, whites, groups from all over the state, and in fact from all over the world, or whether it's thinking about the different disciplines with people having different backgrounds or having different income brackets. People with different backgrounds need to all feel included here and be able to participate in the future of the state and the future of the economy of the state. So that's very, very important. Now, there are a lot of reasons why that's important, not only so they can participate, but it's fundamental to the idea of innovation. We will have much better ideas if we have people with different backgrounds that are working together, and we have the mechanisms in place so they can work together through interdisciplinary teams to address problems. People with different backgrounds look at things in different ways, and you get much better solutions. So it's a necessary ingredient for innovation, which, as you have probably been hearing over and over again, that's a very important part of my agenda for the future of the state. Then it's important that we have people in leadership positions who represent these different groups. So that, for example, if we have people from underrepresented groups, African Americans or Hispanics, or, for example, Native Americans, they need to feel that they're welcome here, and that there are people that support them and the people that are mentors to them. So we will work hard also to diversify the faculty, not only bringing in new ideas from different backgrounds, but providing a welcoming environment for the students and the faculty that we'll be bringing in. And then to think about how they can work together in teams and with corporate partnerships, who again, companies bring in a different perspective. So you may be learning something about civil engineering, perhaps you're working with some people in artificial intelligence, and you've got some people from art and design that look at things in really different ways. And then companies can come and pose problems, and then you can come up with much better solutions that are helping the company. So there are just many, many reasons why this is not just important, but it's actually one of the pillars of the agenda going forward.
Thank you. Thank you, President Seidel. The next member I'm going to ask to bring on tonight is Shane Schultz. Shane is from Denver, Colorado. He's the Director of Governmental Affairs and Senior Corporate Counsel at QEP Resources. He's also a board member for an agriculture tech company, Herd Dog. Shane's also a UW alum and on the University of Wyoming College of Agriculture and Natural Resource Advisory Board. Shane.
President Seidel, thank you for taking my question tonight. It's great to hear what's happening at UW under your leadership. As you know, the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources is at the heart of the land grant mission. What is your vision for a 21st century College of Agriculture?
Thanks a lot, Shane. That is another great question, and it's one that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, in large part because of the fact that I lived in Illinois in two different eras for a total of 14 years. And agriculture is extraordinarily important there. There are some similarities, there are some differences, but among the different activities that I was involved in there were helping to pull together a project called Plants in Silico, where we could think about simulating every aspect of a plant, from the genomics through the root systems, through the photosynthesis in the leaves, and thinking about entire crops. Because, of course, in Illinois, about 75% of the land there are covered in either corn or soybeans. Now, so it's different here, but the basic idea of plant science and understanding it from every angle, from the biology to the computational aspects of it, to thinking about having unmanned aerial vehicles surveilling fields or perhaps crops or perhaps cattle. There are many, many different uses for this, but you get the idea that there's a lot of technology that's crossing over into this. And then thinking also about the business side of this. How do you think about advancing the supply chain, making it more efficient, making the business in an electronic era to be much more secure with cybersecurity and so on. So you put all of this together and you think about the future of agriculture in this state. And it's not only going to be carried out by the School of Agriculture, but it's going to be an all hands on deck activity with companies, with groups from engineering, and with groups from the humanities and the arts and sciences as well. Thinking about precision agriculture, thinking about blockchain. Blockchain, some of you may know that there's a lot of advances in the state of Wyoming around legislation that helps support blockchain, which is a computational based activity around smart contracts or cryptocurrencies and so on, and also about the supply chain. So blockchain isn't just about fancy Bitcoin mining, but it's also about improving the supply chain and the efficiency around agriculture. And then thinking about the extension system, which is historically, and it is here historically also in the College of Agriculture, the idea that we have an office in every county in the state allows us to think about not only training around agriculture, but I think of it as a knowledge distribution system, so we can reach out not only to the community colleges, but literally to every community in the state. So all of these things connect into where I would see as the future of the College of Agriculture and agriculture more generally in the state.
Wonderful. Well, the next member I'm going to bring on tonight is Kevin Rocklitz. Kevin's coming to us tonight from Baltimore, Maryland. Kevin is the Senior Vice President, Chief Sales Officer for the Baltimore Ravens. Kevin's a Wyoming native and a UW alum. He's also on the College of Business Advisory Board. Kevin.
Good evening, Dr. Seidel. During this challenging job market, I know from my own professional career how important internships and career readiness are for our graduates. Can you tell us about how these fit into your overall plan for economic and workforce development?
Absolutely. Thanks, Kevin. That's a great question. Well, let me just say again, for the last 4 years, I spent time as the Vice President for Economic Development and Innovation across the University of Illinois system, and that's multiple universities across the state. And a very important part of that job was working with companies in fact, with 2 governors of the state, many mayors, to think about how do we build better pipelines for career readiness, thinking all the way from the beginning in the elementary schools through the community colleges and through the university, and then thinking about how to make sure that our students are better trained than ever to be ready to hit the ground running when they enter the workforce. So workforce development is a key piece of this. And thinking about, again, the 21st century land grant mission, it's different these days from what it was even 10 or 20 years ago. So we want to make sure that we are preparing people for every aspect of this, and whether it's around entrepreneurship or around training in data science, if you're an agriculture student or back to the Shakespeare scholar or an art major, thinking about entrepreneurship, having those skills so that you can be ready to hit the ground running. This will involve corporate partnerships, and also thinking about things like externships, so that teachers could perhaps do partnerships and with companies. And so to try to build the talent base so we can attract more companies to come to the state. That's a very important aspect of this as well. So among other things that we've been doing to make sure that our students are able to really succeed, especially even in this COVID-19 downturn in the economy, we've introduced a program called When Cowboys Call, We Answer. And Keener Fry and the Alumni Association has been working very hard to work with companies to make sure that our graduates are first in line for those new jobs, and that they're interviewed, and that they're helping to do matchmaking with companies and with our graduates. So that's an all hands on deck program to make sure that our students are able to enter the workforce as well. And then thinking about the corporate partnerships. Companies want to be associated with universities for 2 reasons in particular. One is to have a great supply of talent where they can begin to work with them before they're graduated. So the partnerships is very important. And then also for research and development, particularly when every market sector is being disrupted by advances in technology. Thinking about back to blockchain, artificial intelligence, big data, making sure that our faculty, staff, and students can begin to work with companies to explore the new ways of doing business and the new things they have to be thinking about. Thinking about training around entrepreneurship. And this isn't just around sort of apps and computer science students, but thinking about the creative economy, making sure that students who are art students or music students have got the skills that they need in order to succeed when they graduate, and think about how those skills, including things like data or entrepreneurship or other practical skills. And again, entrepreneurship and collaborations with companies through corporate partnerships. Last thing I'll say about this is back to the vision and sort of the 10-year vision. I would think in the next few years, we may be able to already have the idea of hubs of innovation that are being built, not only in Laramie, but in partnership with community colleges across the entire state and communities, so that our students, no matter what their major is, are able to have the skills and the place they need in order to build those businesses that will help build the new economy of the state. So this is all about career readiness.
So Ed, I'm going to bring Gabrielle back on with us. A point that I want to really emphasize tonight as we draw toward the close, these guys really want to be here. And it's not just professionally, but it's also personally. And I've really been struck by that. and the fact that you talked to me about really looking at the nation, understanding the region. So share some insights in terms of your excitement beyond the University of Wyoming and being right here in Wyoming for years to come.
Well, thanks, Ben. That's the reason. That's really the reason we're here. We finally found a job in a place like this. We thought about this for a long time. To give you an idea how much we love it here, we drove here twice from Champaign, Illinois. That's over 1,000 miles. So that's 4,000 miles just coming out here to get to know this state. And of course, we've been here on many other occasions as well. We love hiking. We love skiing. We've already bought season passes to the Snowy Mountain Range ski area. We did that as soon as it was possible. I think the very first day you could do it, we did that. We bought a beautiful plot of land just south of 280 of Laramie on 287. We're getting Kelly Cole is building a log home for us. We really want to. It's just sort of like a dream come true. So at least that's my story. We just love it here. I'm sure Gabrielle can say similar things.
Just
Gabrielle?
same thing. I mean, we like being outside. We like exploring. I think the amount of public land here, the freedom to explore, it's just fantastic. And one thing that really surprised me was really how beautiful the whole of Wyoming is. We've been to the Tetons and to Yellowstone a number of times, and to Jackson, and so it was a great surprise to find out that the whole of Wyoming is so beautiful, and that Laramie is here sort of tucked away with all these treasures around it for us to explore. So we're having a great time trying to spend as many weekends as we can out exploring and camping. So just thrilled about that. And as Ed said, very excited to be somewhere where it's not flat and there are mountains. So it's so, I don't know, so reassuring to look out the window in the morning and see that the mountains in the distance. I love it.
So one of the things that really is a key role in being the leaders for the University of Wyoming is the ability to draw great talent here. The context that you have, I was so impressed, Ed, from the moment you and I met and we began to walk into the College of Engineering, the new remarkable $100+ million building. And I made the comment that, we've got a great interim dean and Cam Wright, but obviously going to be opening up for a search for the dean. And he made the comment, I know 3 or 4 people I would call. Help us have some insights because, and Gabrielle, I know that your list too is very, very extensive. When you're reaching out to folks to encourage them to come here, what are some of the things that you'll say?
Well, that's a good question. I think we're good recruiters because I think you can hear the passion in our voice. And so we can really talk about the fantastic environment here, the foundation that's been built at the university through the help of the foundation, the great facilities that are here, and then the tools that we'll be able to give them to succeed. So we do both have long lists of people that we know around the country and literally around the world, and we're already beginning to talk with them. I'm thinking about, in fact, this Sunday, I've got a number of hours I'm thinking about reserving just for calling people to recruit them for the provost search that we have going on, the dean of engineering search that we just have going on, the dean of education search, potentially people in economic development that I know that have a lot of experience working in different areas. In fact, I know one crack economic development person who actually owns a horse. And I'm thinking, well, what better place than Wyoming to try to recruit this person? So there are people like this, and we will be calling them and we are talking to them, and we're very excited about the idea of bringing them here to help us build the state.
I've just add as well, all of the faculty and the staff at the university just seem exceptionally dedicated to the mission of the university and to the state, and that's a great basis. And then I haven't had the opportunity to get to know enough of the students yet, but I think that the student population is going to be another draw to bring people to work with a student body that is coming from the state. That's the benefit, I think, of these state universities. And with Wyoming being the only state university, I'm sure that we will have great students here for faculty to come and work with. And then the outside, I mean, I think I've talked to a lot of people, and this is they told me that, well, this is the only area of the country that they would consider moving to. So, I think we have a lot of opportunity to bring people here.
Well, guys, as we close tonight, I really want to turn toward our donors. We sent an annual report out from the UW Foundation, and Toby Merlatt and his team really led that report. And the title word is just grateful. And I cannot overstate to you the gratitude that we feel as the private support continues to come to the University of Wyoming. We know that we're all operating in a world that none of us could have ever predicted. When I think in terms of interviewed, it was the end of February. The pandemic that was beginning to develop was not really all that publicly well known at that time. It was on March the 16th that we truly began as a foundation working remote and as a university working remote. Our faculty went home and spring break and had to retool themselves in order to teach online. It's been an amazing time. I also want all of you to know it's been remarkable to me as I've watched Ed and Gabrielle and maintain their enthusiasm for coming out here as the world just continued to change on us. They made these long trips in the cloak of darkness almost to get out here and to better understand what was happening. All the plans that we had for travels back and forth, engagement with them. Right now, we should be over at War Memorial Stadium getting ready for a football weekend, Ed and Gabrielle. You know, you guys were excited about that. But the world has changed, and these guys have just changed with it. They have continued to lead. Their smiles are always there. Their enthusiasm for vision and where this university is going to be is evident every single day. Ed, I want to thank you personally for your leadership. Gabrielle, I want to thank you so much for your leadership and partnership. I wanted our message tonight to be one of excitement. Excitement regarding where this university is headed and a message of hope and vision as we go forward. So as we close out tonight, again, Ed, thank you. And Gabrielle, thank you. And Ed, I'll let you say your good night. And then we'll wrap things up, Gabrielle, with you and for the evening.
Well, I would just say thanks so much for spending some time with us. We can't wait to get together in person and actually to invite you to our log home, which might be about 11 months from now that we can first go there. But you'll be the first ones we have over. So thank you very much.
Same here. Looking forward to meeting everyone. And thanks for coming along tonight.
And for all of you guys out there, thank you so much for tuning in with us. Thank you for what you're doing for the University of Wyoming. To all of you, we say good night and go Pokes.
Go Pokes.